So he won't get.
Yeah, I don't know. The Assembly is now in session. Assembly Member Allen notices the absence of a quorum. The Sergeant at Arms will prepare the chamber and bring in the absent members. The clerk will call the roll.
Rishajian, Alejo, Allen, Amiano, Atkins, Bell, Berryhill, Block, Blumenfield, Bonilla, Bradford, Brownlee, Buchanan, Butler, Calderon, Campos, Carter, Cedillo, Chesbro, Conway, Cook, Davis, Dickinson, Donnelly, Ing, Fior, Fletcher, Fong, Fuentes, Furutani, Gaggiani, Garrick, Gatto, Gordon, Gorell, Grove, Hagman, Halderman, Hall, Harkey, Hayashi, Hernandez, Hill, Huber, Weso, Huffman, Jeffries, Jones, Knight, Lara, Logue, Lowenthal, Ma, Mendoza, Miller, Mitchell, Monning, Morrell, Nistande, Nilsson, Norby, Olson, Pan, Perea, V. Manuel Perez, Portantino, Silva, Skinner, Smythe, Solorio, Swanson, Torres, Valadeo, Wagner, Wykowski, Williams, Yamada, Mr. Speaker.
We ask our guests and visitors in the rear of the chamber and in the gallery to please stand for the prayer. We ask our Father Assembly Chaplain, Father Constantine Papadimos, to offer the day's prayer.
Good afternoon. Let us pray. Lord, there are times when our lives seem to be fraught with overwhelming obstacles, when we're faced with human stubbornness, disease, terrorism, loneliness, or corruption. We wonder sometimes, what can we hope to accomplish? But if we have love and gratitude for you in our heart, and if we allow that love and gratitude to guide our words and actions, you will send us help. Help us to go out into the world filled with love and gratitude for you, Lord, for you are more than able to handle the big obstacles for us. Amen.
We ask our guests and visitors to remain standing and join us for the flag salute. Please join Assemblymember V. Manuel Perez as he leads us in the pledge. Mr. Perez. You may be seated. Reading of the previous day's journal.
Assembly Chamber, Sacramento, Thursday, May 5, 2011. Assemblyman at 9 a.m. Honorable Phenomenal Speaker Pro Tem of the Assembly presiding. Chief Clerk E. Dawson Wilson at the desk. Reading Clerk Timothy Moreland. Reading the roll was called to Shaji and Alejo, Allen, Amiano, Atkins, Bell, Berryhill, Block, Blumenfield, Bonilla, Bradford, Brownlee, Buchanan, Butler, Calderon, Campos, Carter, CDO, Chesbrough, Conway, Cook, Davis, Dickinson, Donnelly, Ing, Fierro, Fletcher, Fong, Fuentes, Furutani, Gagiani, Garrett, Gatto, Gordon, Grove, Hagman, Halderman, Hall, Harkey, Hayashi, Hernandez, Hill, Huber, Hueso, Huffman, Jeffries, Jones, Knight, Lara, Logue, Lowenthal, Ma, Mansour, Mendoza, Miller, Mitchell, Monning, Morel, Nestande, Nielsen, Norby, Olson, Pan, Perea, V. Manuel, Perez, Portantino,
Mr.
Silva.
Calderon moves and Mr. Hagman seconds that the reading of the previous day's journal be dispensed with. Presentations of petitions, there are none. Introduction and reference of bills will be deferred. Reports of committees will be deemed read and amendments deemed adopted. Messages from the governor, there are none. Messages from the Senate, there are none. Motions and resolutions. The absences for the day will be deemed read and printed in the journal. Mr. Calderon.
Madam Speaker and members, I request unanimous consent to suspend Rule 45.5 to allow Assembly members Bradford, Wesso, and Morel to have guests and photographers on the floor.
Without objection.
Request unanimous consent to suspend Assembly Rule 118 to allow Assembly member Mendoza to have guests and photographers on the floor today for the Latino Spirit Awards.
Without objection.
Also, request unanimous consent to suspend the rule to allow Assembly members Nielsen and Valadeo to speak on Adjourn in Memory.
Without objection.
Pursuant to Assembly Rule 97, I request unanimous consent to re-refer file item 164 AB 520 from the third reading file to the Appropriations Committee.
Without objection.
Also, I request unanimous consent to suspend Joint Rule 62A, the file notice requirements, to allow the Education Committee to meet and to hear H.R. 14 by Speaker John Perez on Wednesday, May 11 of this year at 1:30 p.m. in room 4202.
Without objection.
And finally, at the request of the author, I give a one-day notice of intent to remove file item A1 ACR 3 by Ms. Hayashi from the inactive file.
Without objection. Clerk will note. Okay, members, we have a few guests on the floor today. We are going to make some announcements, and then we are going to go into the Latino Spirit Awards off the bat, and then we will finish off with the rest of the third reading file. Mr. Bradford, would you like to introduce your guest?
Members, I'm honored to introduce a distinguished award-winning actor, director, and producer who has contributed extensively to the people of California through many personal, professional, and philanthropic activities. Please help me welcome Mr. Blair Underwood, who is best known for his leading role as attorney Jonathan Rawlings in the NBC legal drama L.A. Law, but more importantly for his humanitarian contributions. Mr. Underwood currently stars as the first black president of the United States in the NBC drama The Event, which premiered in the fall of 2010. His television credits are well known, including 2 Golden Globe nominations for his roles in HBO's In Treatment and L.A. Law. In 2008, he also won a Grammy for Best Spoken Word Album and Inconvenient Truth, and was awarded the NAACP 6 award 6 times. He has also directed and starred in a series of video vignettes drawn from the pages of From Cape Town with Love and The Bridge to Nowhere. Mr. Underwood has given his time and energy to several charitable organizations, including the AIDS Healthcare Foundation, which opened the Blair Underwood Clinic in 2009, and in 1989 he co-founded Artists for the New South Africa, a nonprofit organization dedicated to promote democracy and equality in South Africa. Recently, Mr. Underwood has been actively involved in supporting preventative measures to control diabetes, such as developing food products for people with diabetes. More importantly, he has formed the Blair Underwood Diabetes Research Center, a collaboration with Dr. Thomas Aoki, who is here with us today, located in Sacramento, to continue further research in the efforts of diabetes and metabolism. The importance of this collaboration with Dr. Aoki will enable to develop a revolutionary treatment for diabetics known as metabolic activation therapy. This treatment slows the progression of and improves the overall complications of diabetes. In addition to serving as artist in residence at Harvard University in 2009, Mr. Underwood also holds a doctorate from Emerson College in Boston, Massachusetts. Mr. Underwood, we welcome you to the California Assembly. We admire and congratulate you for your lifetime achievements and your service to the people of California. Members, let's welcome Blair Underwood to the State Assembly.
Mr. Morell.
Madam Speaker and members, please join me in welcoming today the Bel Canto Women's Choir of Azusa Pacific University in Azusa, California. I would like to honor the choir today along with their director, Dr. David Hughes, for their long history of contributions worldwide. The Bel Canto Women's Choir is one of the oldest choral ensembles in the University of Azusa Pacific's history, having singing around the world to hundreds of churches, schools, and orphanages. So again, please welcome our Bel Canto Choir. Thank you very much.
Mr. Hernandez.
Thank you, Speaker Ma. At this time, I also want to welcome the choir from Azusa. It's a great part. It's great having you as part of the 57th representing here today. APU does so much in the 57th district to strengthen community activism, community service. City of Azusa and the surrounding areas are a better community and better region because of your contribution to their community. Welcome to the California State Assembly.
Ms. Bonilla.
Well, as an APU grad, I also want to welcome you. And I also have a daughter who's just finished her sophomore year there and another daughter who will start as a freshman. So you guys have a wonderful music program. Welcome to the Capitol. So glad for what you're doing for the creative arts.
Okay, Mr. Morell.
Yeah, and I apologize. I forgot to announce that at 2 o'clock today, right outside near the fish pond in our park, our Azusa Pacific Choir will be singing at 2 o'clock, and I'd invite you all to participate and come out and hear them. Thank you.
Mr. Hueso. Members.
Thank you, Ms. Speaker and members.
If we could be seated, there's a lot of activity going on in the back. Mr. Hueso.
Thank you, Ms. Speaker and members. Today, I'm very proud to introduce a resolution declaring Tuesday, May 10th, 2011, as the second Mexico-California Advocacy Day in Sacramento. I have represented the border region since 2006, both as a council member, as a coastal commissioner, now as an assembly member. And I know firsthand the importance of improving the relationship with Mexico and the United States and California for the purpose of fostering cultural and economic exchanges. As chair of the Select Committee of California-Mexico Binational Affairs, my goal is to provide a platform for dialogue and understanding among participants on both sides of the border. The creation of the Select Committee shows California is serious about improving our economy, creating employment opportunities, addressing safety issues, and protecting the environment of our respective communities. We cannot ignore the significance of mutual cooperation between our two countries and how we can achieve a higher quality of life for both our respective constituents in a mutually beneficial manner. The United States and Mexican border states together comprise the third largest economy in the world, which positions our communities strategically to serve as a model in developing relationships and common understandings that create increased prosperity, efficiencies, and innovation of all areas critical to creating healthy communities. Join me today in acknowledging May 10th as the second Mexico-California Advocacy. My guests today are Maria Morales. She's here. Also joining her is Marco Rodriguez and Luis Céspedes, members of Cien Amigos. These are members who are professionals, business people, entrepreneurs from the Sacramento, Stockton, and Modesto area that actively work to improve relations between California and Mexico. They are here to receive the resolution. Please join me in welcoming them.
Dr. Pan?
Yes. Madam Speaker, members, I am proud to announce here that today, here in the gallery, in the Assembly Gallery, are 30 students from the Empire Oaks Elementary School. This school is located in my district in the city of Folsom. So please welcome the 4th and 5th grade classes of Empire Oaks Elementary School, their teacher, Ms. Soul, and the 6 parents who have accompanied them on this field trip to the state capitol. Thank you.
And Mr. Cedillo. Mr. Cedillo.
Members, if I could have your attention. I'll go back to my union voice. Members, if I could have your attention. Members, this is a very important, historic announcement that I am privileged and honored to make at this very moment, on this floor, at this time. We heard the previous speaker speak about improved and new relations. We heard him talk about the need for cooperation. And I want to talk about this spirit and this effort of bilateral, bipartisan, bicameral, I'll stop there, cooperation. I have the privilege and the honor to talk about nothing less than life itself. It's my great pleasure to announce the birthday of my seatmate, Mr. Tim Donnelly. It's important that we reciprocate gestures of goodwill, and I'm very excited to reciprocate his tremendous well wishes on my birthday just a few weeks ago, and I'm happy to announce his 47th? 45th. He's maturing but not aging, the 45th birthday of my seatmate, Tim Donnelly.
Mr. Calderon.
Without objection, Madam Speaker, can we turn to motions and resolutions?
Without objection.
I would like to request unanimous consent to waive Rule 45.5 to allow Mr. Bradford to have a guest seated next to him on the floor.
Without objection.
And also, pursuant to Rule 97, I request unanimous consent to re-refer file item 167, AB 1377 by Ms. Butler from third reading to the Appropriations Committee.
Without objection.
Members, we're going to proceed with third reading. We will go out of order. We will take up file item 155, ACR 27. The clerk will read.
Assembly concurrent resolution 27 by Assemblymember Mendoza relative to Cinco de Mayo week.
Mr. Mendoza, you may open.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members, I'm here to present ACR 27. On behalf of the California Latino Legislative Caucus, it is my honor to present this resolution. ACR 27 relates to Cinco de Mayo, a day of celebration and hope for Mexican Americans all across California and this great nation to enjoy who enjoy the fruits of freedom and liberty. Cinco de Mayo serves to remind us that the foundation of any nation rests on the spirit and courage of its people to stand up and face adversity. Mr. Speaker, we celebrate Cinco de Mayo in honor of the battle.
You may proceed.
We celebrate Cinco de Mayo in honor of the Battle of Puebla in 1862. In this battle, an outnumbered and poorly trained Mexican army defeated the French, one of the world's most powerful armies of its time. It was an event that proved that people who are willing to persevere despite the odds can and will succeed. In a similar fashion, the Latino population in the United States continues to fight for access to the basic necessities, including a quality education, affordable health care, and jobs. Latinos want the American dream, and we continue to strive towards it, even while fighting efforts from individuals and organizations that point their fingers and blame Latinos for all the ills of our society. Yet, despite this, Latinos in the United States are a resilient and proud people and will overcome challenges. As a friend once told me, lo que no ha cambiado entre latinos es nuestro amor para este país, which means the one thing that has not changed among Latinos is the love for our country, for the country of the United States. This sentiment is even more important now that 1 out of every 6 people in the United States are Latino. In California alone, Latinos constitute 38% of the state's residents. That's 14 million people, and represent more than half of the population in California that are under 18. Our community is young and vibrant and will continue to play a vital role in the economic development of the world's most powerful economy. So, members, let us remember that the future strength of California will be determined greatly by valuing and respecting the languages and cultures and histories of the diverse people here in California. Only through this understanding will we be able to continue to move California forward and into a time of greater social, economic, and political equality. On behalf of the Latino Caucus, please help me recognize and honor this important day. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mendoza. Mr. Davis.
Mr. Speaker and members of the State Assembly, it is an honor for me to rise today representing the Legislative Black Caucus as thousands of individuals throughout the state of California celebrate Cinco de Mayo. I rise to commemorate and to acknowledge the contributions of Latino Americans and to celebrate Latino heritage experience here in the United States of America. We know that in every field of human endeavor, from health care to education to economic development, transportation, and even in crime prevention, in terms of those who have served as not only police officers and probation officers, but those who serve as jurists. Each of these areas of our life have been impacted positively by contributions of Latino Americans to the United States of America in general and to California in particular. And so today, as we celebrate the contribution of Latino cultures and as we celebrate the contributions to this country, it is with honor and pride that African Americans, many of whom have themselves experienced the challenge of diversity, the challenge of discrimination in this country and even in this state. We understand the issues of today that have been categorized uniquely as a part of the Latino experience, as last week we talked about some of the issues with regard to creating opportunities in higher education for those individuals who have worked hard in the DREAM Act. And so as I conclude, it is with the opportunity to say that we hope that the dream, the American dream, becomes available for those who happen to be Latinos, many of whom have been in this country long before it was developed in its current structure. And so we hope that along with this dream, that Latinos will join in the American experience to challenge those things that need to be corrected, and that they will join in with Americans to make America what it ought to be. I am gladly here to rise on behalf of the African American Caucus, asking all of my colleagues here today to vote in support of ACR 27.
Thank you, Mr. Davis. Ms. Hayashi.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker and members. On behalf of the Asian Pacific Islander Legislative Caucus, I am honored to rise in support and recognize the importance and significance of Cinco de Mayo. The Asian Pacific Islander community has a long history of coalition building within the Latino community. In the early 1900s, immigration restrictions and biased land ownership laws brought Punjabi and Mexican American members together to form interracial families and farming communities in the Central and Imperial Valleys. During the grape strike in the 1960s, Cesar Chavez and Dolores Huerta worked together with Filipino workers like Philip Vera Cruz and Larry Itlong to fight for social justice and workers' rights under one of history's strongest multi-ethnic coalition, the United Farm Workers. The Latino community has long history of fighting for social justice in the United States. Cinco de Mayo week is a time for all of us to reflect on the significant contribution to our culture and history. I respectfully ask for your aye vote on ACR 27 to recognize Cinco de Mayo week to honor the important work, culture, and history of the Latino community. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Hayashi. Saying no further, Mr. Amiano.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. Just briefly, I stand in strong support of this resolution. You know, as a former school teacher and as a member of the LGBT caucus, it's been my honor to witness and sometimes participate in the great strides made by the Latino community. And as a teacher, particularly, the contribution to the education of our children on part of this community has been stunning. And I certainly urge an aye vote.
Thank you, Mr. Amiano. Mr. Mendoza, you may close.
Mr. Speaker, thank you, members, for your warm comments, and I would just like the first roll call to be open for co-authors, Mr. Speaker. Thank you.
Mr. Mendoza is asking that the first roll be open for co-authors. The clerk will open the roll. All members vote who desire to vote. All members vote who desire to vote. First roll is for co-authors, members. Close the roll. 61 co-authors. We can now proceed with a voice vote on the resolution. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Mr. Hernandez, Mr. Mendoza, you may proceed.
Members, we will now move to the Assembly observance of Cinco de Mayo. We will now hear remarks from Mr. Mendoza.
Thank you, Mr. Hernandez. Members, 10 years ago, the Latino Legislative Caucus created the Latino Spirit Awards to recognize individuals who exemplify the true spirit of our Latino culture and heritage. Today, we celebrate an event that started off as a simple idea which allows the Latino Caucus to bring forward admirable and influential leaders in our community and share their accomplishments with the state of California. The 10 honorees before us today are adding immensely to the already impressive list of previous Latino Spirit Award honorees that include a Nobel Peace Prize laureate, Grammy Award winner, and successful entrepreneurs in different fields of business and science. Today, these honorees have played an important role in furthering the understanding and acceptance of our Latino culture, our values, and our traditions worldwide. Some of the honorees have entertained us through their music or through their movies. Others have inspired us through their roles as public servants and civil rights champions for our community. Now, more than ever, it is important for us to recognize these individuals who not only inspire us with their work, but motivate us and motivate our children to challenge themselves and seek greatness in whatever they do. I cannot stress enough how important it is to see influential and intelligent Latinos and Latinas throughout all sectors of our society and think how this will influence our children. They too will feel that they can become movie stars, judges, musicians, and public servants. Once again, I want to thank you. I want to thank the honorees for all that you do and will continue to do for our community. So on this 10th year anniversary of the Latino Spirit Awards, let us all rejoice in the accomplishments of our honorees and continue striving towards creating a better California. Thank you, members, and let's begin with our program.
At this time, I'd like to ask Assembly Speaker John Perez and the Latino Legislative Caucus Chair, Mr. Tony Mendoza, to move towards the center aisle to receive our honorees. I'm appointing a special committee on escort to bring our special guests onto the floor for presentation. Members, please retire to the rear of the chamber at the appropriate time to escort your honoree. Assembly members, Alejo, Amiano, Bell, Bradford, Charles Calderon, Cedillo, Davis, Ng, Fong, Fuentes, Furutani, Lara, Manning, Perea, V. Manuel Perez, Torres, Swanson, Williams, Senators Ron Calderon, Correa, De Leon, Ed Hernandez, Padilla, Negrete McLeod, and Vargas. Members, the winner of the 2011 Latino Spirit Awards for Civil Rights is Mr. Joaquin Avila. He will be escorted by Assembly members V. Manuel Perez, Ann Manning, and Senators Correa. Mr. Alejo, will you tell us more about Mr. Avila?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members, it is with great pleasure I introduce nationally renowned voting rights attorney Joaquin Avila. Since 1974, Mr. Avila has been involved in several major voting rights cases affecting the Latino community across the country, and some have respectfully called him a voting rights gladiator. Born and raised in Compton, California, Mr. Avila attended Centennial Senior High School, graduating valedictorian in 1966. He went on to graduate from Yale University, where he received his bachelor's degrees in political science in 1970, and then went on to graduate from Harvard Law School in 1973, where he served as case and comments editor for the Harvard Civil Rights, Civil Liberties Law Review. Upon graduating from law school, he served as a law clerk with the Alaska State Supreme Court, and in 1974, he joined the Mexican American Legal Defense and Education Fund, MALDEF, as a staff attorney, where he challenged discriminatory practices in the areas of voting rights, employment, education, and immigration. His leadership led him to become MALDEF's president and general counsel in 1982, where he supervised the national staff and was responsible for formulation of a Latino voting rights and civil rights agenda. In the late 1980s and 90s, he won a landmark voting rights cases that were fought all the way to the United States Supreme Court and resulted in the empowerment of Latinos and electing the first Latinos to local office and electing our first judges. It set precedent in the Ninth Circuit Court, and many of us are here today because of him. Mr. Avila's work is widely recognized, and in 1996, he was awarded the prestigious MacArthur Genius Award for his work in voting rights and the Vanguard Public Foundation Award for Social Justice Sabbatical. He is the current Executive Director of the National Voting Rights Advocacy Initiative and the Distinguished Practitioner in Residence at Seattle University School of Law. Mr. Avila is married to Sally Avila and has two adult sons, Joaquin Salvador and his daughter Angelique. Members, please join me in honoring a longtime hero of mine since I was in high school and the best voting rights attorney in the Latino community in our country, Mr. Joaquin Avila.
Members, the winner of the 2011 Latino Spirit Award for Achievement in Entertainment and Philanthropy is Rosario Dawson. She will be escorted by Senator Padilla and Assemblymember Bradford. Mr. Parea, will you tell us more about Ms. Dawson?
Mr. Speaker, members, it is with great pleasure that I speak on behalf of Rosario Dawson. Rosario Dawson is one of Hollywood's most sought-after leading ladies who has garnered praise for her numerous leading roles with today's leading film actors and directors. Dawson made her film debut at the age of 14 in the highly acclaimed and controversial hit Kids, which depicted 24 hours in the life of a group of New York skaters. Since then, her film career has blossomed. She has starred in several blockbuster hits, including Men in Black 2, Sin City, Alexander, and 7 Pounds. Dawson also starred in and produced the film Descent, which was Dawson's first self-produced feature film under her production banner, Tribe Films. In 2005, Dawson showed great range in the film adaptation of famed Broadway play Rent, shining as Mimi Valdez in the Pulitzer Prize-winning musical. Although boasting a great career in film, what is more impressive is Dawson's involvement with philanthropies and service organizations that impact our Latino community. Dawson is the co-founder of Voto Latino, a nonpartisan, nonprofit civic engagement organization that has produced award-winning multimedia campaigns that encourage young Latinos to register to vote and get engaged in the electoral process. Now, before I close, I would like to just take this quick moment to recognize that today is Rosario's birthday. And so, colleagues, before we give a round of applause, colleagues, I would just ask that you would join me in just a quick song and happy birthday so we can celebrate in today's commemoration. So please, I'll lead, but please join in. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Rosario. Happy birthday to you. Congratulations.
What about the mañanitas? Las mañanitas. Mr. Lara? On three. Estas son mis Members, I also like to add that Ms. Dawson was escorted by brothers Senators Ron Calderon and Senator Charles Calderon. The winner of the 2011 Latino Spirit Award for Achievement in Journalism and Media is Isabel Duran. She will be escorted by Senators Vargas, Williams, Assemblymember Ng, and Assemblymember Torres. Ms. Campos, will you tell us more about Ms. Duran?
Thank you. Members, only in the state of California do we get to recognize outstanding individuals. Isabel Duran is an Emmy Award-winning journalist with over 30 years in television broadcasting experience, working all over the United States, from Chicago to Boston and San Francisco, where she has spent nearly 2 decades. Her passion as a board member of the International Women's Media Foundation have taken her to Mexico, Chile, and Argentina as she worked to create a network of Latina journalists. In 2009, Isabel Duran was inducted into the National Association of Hispanic Journalists Hall of Fame. A fierce advocate for providing support services and resources to Latinas with breast cancer, Isabel formed the Latina Contra Cancer, an organization that hosts an annual Mother's Day walk against cancer. I am proud to say that I have witnessed her work and her passion for giving back to the community, and I am proud to have supported her efforts not only in San Jose, but in the United States. Isabel's extraordinary contributions to underserved communities throughout the state of California are widely known and admired. Her commitment is truly inspired, and it has been an honor to work with her in her capacity. Today, members, we recognize Isabel Duran for her accomplishments, not only in California, but in the United States and beyond. Members, please help welcome Isabel Duran.
Members, the winner of the 2011 Latino Spirit and Achievement in Health and Business is Zoila Escobar. She is escorted by Assembly Members Bell and Perea. Mr. Allen, you are recognized.
Thank you. Members, it is with great pleasure that I speak on behalf of Zoila de Escobar. Zoila de Escobar's experience with community health centers began when she first joined Altamed Health Services Corporation in 1979 as part of a teen advocacy project. Escobar's administrative experience includes working with the AIDS Project Los Angeles as program director of the first Latinas and AIDS program in Los Angeles County, and at the UCLA Family Planning Clinic, where she served as clinic administrator for HIV services and later became the director of education and government affairs for the Arthritis Foundation. Ms. Escobar was involved in policy work that led to the development of the Ryan White Act legislation and played a major role in the inclusion of HIV/AIDS in the American with Disabilities Act legislation. Ms. Escobar developed and implemented a comprehensive training program to help physicians and other healthcare professionals improve hemophilia and HIV infection healthcare systems and piloted the first hemophilia and AIDS workshop in Santiago, Chile. Ms. Escobar served as co-chair of the first binational U.S.-Mexico AIDS conference, and also Latina Artists Against AIDS art show and Big Sisters of Los Angeles Latina Advisory Dinner and Gala fundraising committees. Ms. Escobar returned to Altamed Health Services in 1992, where she now holds the position of Vice President for Strategic Development and Community Support, as well as being the President of the Altamed Foundation, where she oversees the functions of corporate strategic planning, implementation and tracking of business and development plans, public and private fundraising, compliance, and marketing. Ms. Escobar was nominated by the Los Angeles Business Journal as Woman of the Year in 2006. She has also received the Mexican American Opportunity Foundation Woman of the Year Award in 2007 and the National Latina Businesswoman Association LA Award in 2008. Members, please join me in honoring Zoila D. Escobar.
The winner of the 2000 Latino Spirit Award in Achievement in Public Service is Justice Carlos Moreno. He is escorted by Assembly members Alejo and Swanson. Mr. Manuel Perez, you are recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members, it is with great pleasure that I speak on behalf of Justice Carlos R. Moreno. Justice Moreno was sworn in as an Associate Justice of the Supreme Court of California on October 18, 2001. Following his nomination by Governor Gray Davis. He received his Bachelor of Arts degree in Political Science from Yale University in 1970 and his Juris Doctorate from Stanford Law School in 1975. Justice Moreno began his esteemed career as a Deputy City Attorney with the Los Angeles City Attorney's Office, prosecuting criminal and civil consumer protection cases and handling politically sensitive and legislative matters as Special Counsel to the City Attorney. In the fall of 1986, Governor George Deukmejian appointed Justice Moreno to the Municipal Court, Compton Judicial District, where Moreno handled general criminal matters and supervised the court's civil departments. In October of 1993, Governor Pete Wilson elevated Justice Moreno to the Los Angeles County Superior Court, where he presided over felony trials in downtown Los Angeles. Justice Moreno was then nominated to the federal bench by President Bill Clinton, and in February of 1998, he was unanimously confirmed to the United States District Court for the Central District of California by the United States Senate, where he served as a federal district court judge for over 3 years, presiding over a broad range of complex civil and criminal matters. Justice Moreno has served as president of the Mexican American Bar Association and has been a member of the California Judges Association, the Presiding Judges Association, and the Municipal Court Judges Association of Los Angeles County. In 1997, Moreno received the Criminal Justice Superior Court Judge of the Year Award from the Los Angeles County Bar Association, and in 2003, the Roger J. Traynor Appellate Justice of the Year Award from the Consumer Attorneys Association of Los Angeles. Justice Moreno is married to Christine, and he has 3 children, Kiko, Nicolas, and Heather. Members, please join me in honoring Justice Carlos R. Moreno.
Members, the 2011 Latino Spirit Award for Achievement in Music and Literature is Jose Luis Orozco. He is escorted by Assembly members Fuentes and Furutani. Mr. Wessel, you are recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker and members. It's a great honor, and I present to you in melodious harmony Jose Luis Orozco. At age 8, Jose Luis became a member of the Mexico City Boys Choir and traveled the world visiting 32 countries in Europe, the Caribbean, Central and South America. Through his travels, he gained the cultural knowledge he now shares with children through his books and recordings. At age 19, Jose Luis moved to California in search of the American dream. He attended and earned his bachelor's degree from UC Berkeley and a master's degree in multicultural education from the University of San Francisco. Jose Luis Orozco has built a successful career as a children's author, songwriter, performer, and recording artist. He has recorded 13 volumes of Lírica Infantil, Latin American children's music, and written 3 successful award-winning books: De Colores in 1994, Diez Deditos, 10 Fingers, in 1997, and Fiestas in 2002. Jose Luis Orozco's most recent book, Rin Rin Rin, Do Re Mi, richly illustrated by Caldecott Medal winner David Diaz, is a delightfully lyrical bilingual children's book which shows how everyday family activities such as cooking, singing, reading, and storytelling foster essential early literacy skills such as letter recognition and language development. Jose Luis Orozco is an acknowledged expert in children's music and is a featured speaker and presenter at educational conferences and seminars for teachers, parents, librarians, and child care providers who seek to use music as an important learning tool in multicultural classrooms. Jose Luis Orozco is a father of 4 and grandfather of 2 children. Members, please join me in honoring Jose Luis Orozco.
The recipient of the 2011 Latino Spirit Award for Achievement in Music, Entertainment, and Philanthropy is Jenny Rivera. She is escorted by Senator Cedillo and De Leon. Mr. Lara, you're recognized.
Mr. Speaker and members, it is with great pleasure that I speak on behalf of Jenny Rivera. Jenny Rivera is without a doubt the female leader of regional Mexican genre, winning various gold and platinum records and selling more than 20 million records worldwide. The diva of the banda, and I say that because my dad's from Sinaloa and loves your music, has enjoyed a legion of loyal fans made up of multi-generational audiences that admires her talent and musical integrity. Jenny was the first Latin artist to sell out Nokia Theater in Los Angeles, California on July 31st, and then again in August. She is the first female banda artist to sell out concert at the world-famous Gibson Amphitheater in Universal City, and most recently became the first artist to sell out 2 back-to-back nights at the Nokia Theater in LA. Jenny has received various awards, including Artist of the Year, Female Artist of the Year, and Album of the Year from such prestigious awards as the Latin Grammys, Billboard Latin Music Awards, and Premios de la Radio. Jenny Rivera serves as a spokesperson for Amanecer Community Counseling Services, a program that benefits domestic violence survivors, and was named the spokeswoman for the National Coalition Against Battered Women and Domestic Violence in Los Angeles in August. Jenny is a successful entrepreneur, including Divina Realty, Divina Cosmetics, Jenny Rivera Fragrance, Jenny Jeans, gotta get a pair of those, Norma, Divine Music, and the Jenny Rivera Love Foundation. Jenny was also the producer to her oldest daughter's Janie Marin reality TV show on the cable network Mundos, Chiquis and Roxy,
and now stars in her sequel spin-off show called I Love Jenny. Members, it is with great honor that you join me in recognizing our very own Jenny Rivera.
Members, the winner of the 2011 Latino Spirit Award for Achievement in Entertainment and Philanthropy is Wilmer Valderrama. He is escorted by Senator Ron Calderon and Assemblymember Amiano. Mr. Celorio, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker and members. It is with great pleasure that I speak on behalf of Wilmer Valderrama. Wilmer Valderrama, best known for his role as Fez on Fox's That 70s Show, has been in high demand above and beyond the small screen since the premiere of the series in 1998. Wilmer has produced, directed, written, hosted, and acted in a number of projects over the past decade and continues to have many in development. At the age of 13, members, Wilmer moved to Los Angeles from Venezuela with his family and did not speak a single word of English. He quickly learned the language and began drama classes in high school. At the suggestion of his high school drama teacher, Wilmer got an agent and was immediately cast in the CBS miniseries Four Corners in 1998, Disney Channel's Omba Macamba, and in the pilot of That 70s Show for Fox. Wilmer can be heard also as the voice of Manny on the Disney animated hit show Handy Mandy, a show which was nominated for a Daytime Emmy Award in 2009 and has won a number of other awards for the show's excellence in children's animated programming. Wilmer recently started a production company, WV Enterprises, and currently has a deal with Relativity Media, where he will create, develop, and executive produce series for broadcast and cable networks. Wilmer's past film credits include the 2008 thriller Columbus Day, Fast Food Nation, Unaccompanied Minors, Summer Catch, and as the voice of Rodrigo in the feature film Clifford's Really Big Movie, among others. And last, from 2006 to 2007, Wilmer created, executive produced, and hosted three seasons of the hit MTV show Yo Mama. Members, please join me in honoring Wilmer Valderrama. Congratulations.
Members, the honoree for the 2011 Latino Spirit Award for Achievement in Literature and the Arts is Elena Maria Viramontes. She is escorted by Assembly members Fong and Davis. Ms. Torres, you are recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members, it is with great pleasure that I introduce to you Elena Maria Viramontes. She is the author of several novels and short stories, including The Moths and Other Stories and Under the Feet of Jesus. Her most recent novel, Their Dogs Came With Them, focuses on working poor, the homeless, and the undocumented of East Los Angeles, where Viramontes was born and raised. Her stories communicate the overwhelming trials and tribulations that Chicana mothers, wives, and daughters face. In 1980, Viramontes became co-coordinator of the Los Angeles Latino Writers Association and editor of Chisme Arte magazine. And later, she helped found Southern California Latino Writers and Filmmakers. In collaboration with feminist scholar Maria Herrera Sobek, Viramontes organized 3 major conferences at UC Irvine, resulting in 2 anthologies, Chicana Creativity and Criticism, charting new frontiers in American literature and Chicana rights on word and film. Viramontes' work has been included in nearly every anthology of American literature published in the last 10 years, including, most recently, the Norton Anthology of Literature by Women. She is the recipient of numerous awards, including the John Dos Passos Prize for Literature, a Sundance Institute Fellowship, a National Endowment for the Arts Fellowship, and the Luis Leal Award for Distinction in Chicano Latino Literature. In 2007, Viramontes was named a USA Ford Fellow in Literature by the United States Artists. Viramontes is currently Professor of Creative Writing in the Department of English at Cornell University. She is a teacher, a mentor to countless of young artists, and is currently at work on her new novel. Members, please join me in honoring Elena Maria Viramontes.
We recently lost a member of the Latino Caucus. The 2011 Latino Spirit Award in Memoriam is designated for the Honorable Jenny Oropesa. Accepting the award are members of her family. They will be escorted by Senators Negrete McLeod and Assemblymember Lara. Mr. Cedillo, you are recognized.
Members, it's with a very sad and heavy heart that I stand before you to talk about a leader of our community, someone that we lost all too soon. My seatmate, my friend, my sister, my colleague and collaborator, Jenny Oropesa, was someone who was really, really special. You knew that the instant you met her. Her energy, her charisma, and her activism were just overwhelming. In fact, when you met her, you knew that there were places that she was going. She was an avid traveler. She loved to travel the world. She had a fierce, somewhat competitive nature about her. If you knew her, you also knew her to be very elegant, very classy, very detailed. Tom, my brother, very detailed about her presentation and herself. I had the honor and privilege of being her seatmate, of sitting with her for 4 years on the Senate, and the privilege of being one of 3 members of the majority party of the Rules Committee, and with her evaluating each and every appointee of the governor for a period of time. She was fierce, just fierce and tireless advocate. Particularly once after she first became ill, she was very focused. And her and I both shared this tremendous hate for cancer, just despised it. And she was special in that she used all her intellect and all her resources, all her capacity to marshal resources against cancer. Now, some of her work made people very uncomfortable. People don't want to be told whether or not they can smoke in their car, if they have their children in the car. No one likes to be told what to do, particularly adults who raise their own children don't want government going into their lives. But there comes a point where you have to draw a line, and Jenny drew that line in the best interest of young people, in the best interest of public health, in the best interest of our community in general. And frequently when issues came up about our environment and finding that balance between our environment and our rights as individuals and what it meant for the community at large, Jenny always knew how to balance the scales. And at the end, while she was such a great advocate for business, she always knew that at the end of the day, it was our collective public health that meant so much more. And frequently she would remind me of that. And at some times, if we were in a debate and I wasn't quite focused on the virtues of her argument, she would just remind me, what would Ruby say? And she was close to my wife, and both of them were very particular in their presentations, right, Tom? I remember her sometimes coming in a little late to the floor of the Senate. And, she just had to take what time she needed to get ready. But once she was there, and everyone knows this, whenever you spoke to Jenny, she had this ability of shifting her weight, focusing on you, and then just like a laser, paying attention to you, to the fact that you really wanted to make sure that you had something significant to say and that you didn't waste her time. And so I don't know if that comes from the mom with a big smile and the big eyes, but it was really just for all the family, just an honor and a privilege to know her. We miss her so much on this floor. We miss her so much in the legislature. She was a true leader. Imagine this. What we know of the American Cancer Society, all the great work that they do, all their chapters throughout the country, how important their work is, all the doctors and researchers and everybody who's involved. And their first leadership award was named for Jenny Oropesa. Mr. Speaker, Mr. Chairman of the caucus, I thank you. I thank the Oropesa family for the honor of speaking of my dear friend and my sister, Jenny Oropesa. God bless.
There is one more gift for honorees, some music. Honorees, members, and guests, let's welcome Mariachi América de Sacramento as they perform Canción Mexicana by Lalo Guerrero.
Nacida en esta tierra, en este lindo suelo, en mi hermana
join. Very loud. Please join the Latino Legislative Caucus members and their honorees as we celebrate the 10th Annual Latino Spirit this evening on the North Steps at 5:30 p.m. for a reception. Thank you to today's program participants and the membership for their participation in the Assembly observance of Cinco de Mayo. We will take a brief recess. This concludes our ceremony. Thank you very much.
Members, we're just going to go through some of our procedural motions, second reading. You guys can still take pictures for a couple of minutes. So second reading, clerk will read.
Assembly Bill 844, 655, 1212, 480, 1426, 1427, 947, 910, 1036, 1220, 1029, 1066, 1091, 1105, 1129, 1163, 1168, 1186, 1267, 1272, 1297, 1390, 1395, 1414, 45, 997, 887, 897, 930, 1025. 1042, 1127, 1158, 1174, 1182, 1255, 1384 with amendments, 1409, 573, 611, 657, 665, 666, 67, 687, 690, 742, 793, 914, 956, 957, 1014, 209, 214, 225, 226, 255, 258, 342, 377, 384, 424, 512, 518, 560, 566, 568, 16, 22, 57, 75, 135, 144, 151, 211, 217, 243, 320, 325, 345, 346, 353, 398, 427, 431, 446, 459, 492, 536, 554, 597, 615, 673, 677, 683, 688, 716, 748, 28, 867, 1399 with amendments, 267, 766, 950, 1136, 1236, 1393, 1396, 1217 with amendments, 636 with amendments, 378 with amendments, 1210 with amendments, 51 with amendments, 784 with amendments, 160 with amendments, 802 with amendments, 89 with amendments, 1110 with amendments, 1247 with amendments, 12 with amendments, and Assembly Bill 813 with amendments.
All bills will be deemed read and amendments deemed adopted. Okay, members, if members and our guests could slowly retire to the rear of the chambers, you can continue to take pictures. We still have some bills on our daily file that we would like to proceed with. We're going to start at the top of the third reading. File item 124 and 125, pass and retain. File item 126, clerk will read.
Assembly Bill 228 by Assemblymember Fuentes, an act relating to the State Compensation Insurance Fund.
Mr. Fuentes.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. This bill clarifies that the employees of the State Compensation Insurance Fund, SCIF, are not subject to furloughs by the executive branch. SCIF is a self-supporting entity and as such has no impact on the state's general fund. If the previous governor's attempts to furlough SCIF employees was successful, it would have set a dangerous precedent that special funded employees could be subject to political gamesmanship. This legislation is important to help clarify their important yet independent role. Current law exempts SCIF from hiring freezes or staff cutbacks, and this bill adds the word furlough to clarify what the courts have thus far declared. This measure has no opposition and is supported by the California Coalition on Workers' Compensation and the California Chamber. I respectfully ask for your aye vote.
Seeing no further questions or debate, clerk will open the roll. All members vote who desire to vote. All members vote who desire to vote. Clerk will close the roll, tally the votes. Ayes 68, no 0. Measure passes. File item 127 through file item 137, pass and retain. File item 138, AB 765. Clerk will read.
Assembly Bill 765 by Assemblymember Shajian, an act relating to crimes.
Mr. Shajian.
Thank you, Madam Speaker and fellow colleagues. I'm pleased to present AB 765, a bill that would protect victims of rape by making it clear that a perpetrator who impersonates a victim's cohabitant, live-in boyfriend or girlfriend in order to commit a sexual act is guilty of felony rape. A recent attempt by the Santa Barbara County District Attorney to prosecute a rape case clearly demonstrates the deficiency in existing law. The District Attorney could not prosecute a perpetrator for felony rape simply due to the fact that the victim and her boyfriend of 10 years lived together but were not married. The victim was deceived into committing a sexual act because she was under the belief that the perpetrator was impersonating her live-in boyfriend. Had the couple been married, the crime could have been prosecuted as a felony rape. Current rape law relating to impersonation does not recognize cohabitation. Unfortunately, this oversight in existing law resulted in the denial of justice to a woman who was clearly a victim of rape. AB 765 has received no votes. I respectfully ask for your aye vote.
Seeing no, Mr. Williams.
As a former board member for National Organization for Women, I just want to rise in support of this bill. Obviously, we know we have a long way to go in the society to combat crimes against women, but I think this will give us one more tool for our law enforcement to deal with perpetrators.
Seeing no further questions or debate, clerk will open the roll. All members vote who desire to vote. All members vote who desire to vote. Clerk will close the roll, tally the votes. Ayes 71, no 0. Measure passes. File items 139 through 141, pass and retain. File item 142 on the amendments, AB 1155. Clerk will read.
Assembly Bill 1155 with amendments by Assemblymember Alejo.
Mr. Alejo.
Madam Speaker and members, for the purposes of technical amendments, I respectfully request that the amendments be taken up and put the bill out to print and back on file. Thank you.
Seeing no objection, we will take a voice vote on these amendments. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed say nay. The ayes have it. The amendments are adopted, out to print and back on file. File items 143 through 147, pass and retain. File items 148. Clerk will read.
Assembly Bill 1041 by Assemblymember Mon, Act relating to vehicles.
Ms. Ma.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker and members. AB 1041 is a district bill that will eliminate the sunset date on the successful San Francisco pilot program that allows the San Francisco Municipal Railway to use forward-facing cameras to enforce parking violations. Since the inception of the pilot program, there has been a 47% decrease in bus zone violations and a 44% decrease for double parking violations in transit lanes. AB 1041 will help the world's oldest transit system to move the 200 million customers every year quickly, efficiently, safely, and reliably while reducing congestion and accidents within the city of San Francisco. AB 1041 passed out of committee with only aye votes. I respectfully ask for your aye vote.
Seeing no questions or debate, clerk will open the roll. All members vote who desire to vote. All members vote who desire to vote. Clerk will close the roll, tally the vote. Ayes 67, noes 1. The measure passes. File item 149, AB 855. Clerk will read.
Assembly Bill 855 by Assemblymember Ma and others, an act relating to county penalties.
Ms. Ma.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members, pleased to present AB 855, a bill which will allow counties to use the remaining local funds from Prop 69, the state's DNA identification fund, to compensate law enforcement and district attorneys to use independent DNA labs in order to accelerate the analysis of samples, in this case, rape kits. This bill does not take away any money from Prop 69 DNA funds, nor does the bill impact funding distributed to the state lab under the program. AB 855 simply allows for remaining residual dollars otherwise unusable at the local level to pay outside labs to speed up the turnover of the kits that are waiting to be processed. Respectfully ask for your aye vote.
Seeing no questions or debate, clerk will open the roll. All members vote who desire to vote. All members vote who desire to vote. Clerk will close the roll, tally vote. Ayes 73, noes 0. The measure passes.
File items 150 and 151, pass and retain. File item 152, AB 741. Clerk will read.
Assembly Bill 741 by Assemblymember Huffman and others, an act relating to wastewater.
Mr. Huffman.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. This is a bill that will help prevent sewage spills by providing a creative financing mechanism for private property owners and local governments. Specifically, existing law allows property owners to enter into voluntary agreements with their local wastewater agency to finance improvements needed to connect to a community sewer system, but only after a regional water board has issued an abatement order. This bill amends that law to allow property owners and local governments to enter into pre-abatement agreements. This is before an abatement situation arises. And allowing the use of this financing earlier will help address the problem before we get into a violation and an abatement situation. This bill passed out of local government committee with unanimous bipartisan support, and there is no opposition. I respectfully request an aye vote.
Seeing no further questions or debate, clerk will open the roll. All members vote who desire to vote. All members vote who desire to vote. Clerk will close the roll, tally the votes. Ayes 74, no 0. Measure passes. File item 153 and 154 pass and retain. File item 155 has been dispensed with. File items 156 and 157 pass and retain. File item 158, AB 1298. Clerk will read.
Assembly Bill 1298 by Assemblymember Blumenfield, an act relating to vehicles.
Mr. Blumenfield.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Members, AB 1298 is a follow-up bill to a bill I authored last year which addressed the problem of mobile billboard blight. It is a local control bill. You see, while we've gotten these unattached trailers off the streets, there are rogue advertisers in my district and probably in many of yours who are buying clunker cars and attaching mobile billboard trailers to those cars and leaving them in valuable parking spots for long periods of time. They leave them in front of mom and pop stores. They leave them in front of people's homes. What this bill does is it simply closes a loophole in the Transportation Code regarding the enforcement of the statewide 72-hour parking law, and it makes it easier for local governments to address the nuisance of mobile billboards that occupy valuable street parking for days and even weeks and months on end. If a vehicle is left on a public street with no visible parking restrictions, local law enforcement can tow that vehicle after 72 hours under current law. However, they can get around it by just moving that vehicle 1 inch or less. And this effectively renders the state law unenforceable. What the law does, as currently written, it doesn't have a distance requirement, and it's often abused by these rogue advertisers such as massage parlors and others who attach these trailers to motorized vehicles. In 2007, jurisdictions across the state implemented local ordinances to address the problem of vehicles circumventing the 72-hour parking law. Los Angeles' ordinance required that the vehicle move at least 1 full parking spot rather than just a few inches. However, in 2007, the Supreme Court ruled that the state law preempts all local ordinances affecting the Transportation Code in O'Connell v. City of Stockton. The finding stated that local regulations affecting anything within the California Vehicle Code are prohibited unless expressly authorized in the code. The finding was subjected to the City of Los Angeles to multiple preemptive challenges over the years, and given the history, the City Council was basically forced to repeal the ordinances where they would force cars to move at least 1 parking spot. This bill will remedy that problem by allowing local jurisdictions to set a minimum distance that vehicles must be moved. My goal is to preserve the intent of the law and give local government the authority to enforce that law in a method that's most appropriate to their local communities. Again, this is a local control bill, and I ask for your aye vote.
Seeing no further questions or debate, clerk will open the roll. All members vote who desire to vote. All members vote who desire to vote. Clerk will close the roll, tally the votes. Ayes 58, noes 11. Measure passes. File item 159, AB 1323. Clerk will read.
Assembly Bill 1323 by Assemblymember Gatto, an act relating to vehicles.
Mr. Gatto.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Members, this bill appropriates the excess proceeds from automobiles forfeited after the prosecution of an auto theft ring and uses those proceeds to fund local law enforcement. It's a good way to ensure that the high cost of investigating these costly property crimes is covered by the ill-gotten gains under our criminal anti-profiteering statutes. I respectfully ask for your aye vote.
Seeing no further questions or debate, clerk will open the roll. All members vote who desire to vote. All members vote who desire to vote. Clerk will close the roll, tally the votes. Ayes 68, no 0. Measure passes. File items 160 to 164 pass and retain. File item 165, AB 539. Clerk will read.
Assembly Bill 539 by Assemblymember Williams and others, an act relating to vehicles.
Mr. Williams.
Good afternoon, Madam Speaker, members. AB 539 authorizes an increase in the base fine for speeding in a school zone. Between 1998 and 2005, according to a Caltrans study, there was a shocking average of over 4 incidents per schools in 350 schools of either deaths or injuries from car accidents. Citing the study, my predecessor authored AB 321, some of you may remember, in 2007, which authorized local governments to reduce speed limits in school zones to 15 miles per hour. However, this doesn't apply to school zones where speed limits are 30 miles per hour or higher. And, of course, that's many of the school zones in all of our districts. Since its introduction, I significantly narrowed my bill to address concerns regarding excessiveness of the fines and effectiveness of the fines. And so, as written, the bill authorizes local governments to double base fines in these school zones where AB 321 did not apply, and ensures that penalties and fees do not also increase along with the base fine. And finally, the revenue from the increase must be used for driver education, engineering to make kids safer, or enforcement. My bill gives local governments another tool in the toolbox to help keep our kids safe, and it has bipartisan support. Ask for your aye vote.
Mr. Sajian.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I rise in support of my neighbor and colleague, Assemblyman Williams' bill. I know that by increasing the number of patrol does a better job, but with today's economy and local budget, that's not as possible. But on the other side of the coin is that when the word goes out that how expensive the citations have become, that will be as effective as increasing patrol. I do support the bill.
Seeing no further questions or debate, clerk will open the roll. All members vote who desire to vote. All members vote who desire to vote. Clerk will close the roll, tally the votes. Ayes 62, noes 9. Measure passes. File items 166 through 173 pass and retain. File item 174, ACR 35. Clerk will read.
Assembly concur Resolution 35 by Assemblymember Roger Hernandez relative to National Surgical Technologists Week.
Mr. Hernandez.
Madam Speaker and members, California is home to an estimated 5,000 of the nation's 90,000 surgical technologists who work every day to safeguard patient care. Surgical technologists are allied health professionals who are an integral part of the team of medical practitioners providing surgical care to patients. Surgical technologists work with surgeons in the operating room to ensure that the operating room environment is safe, that the equipment functions properly, and that the operative procedure is conducted under conditions that maximize patient safety. ACR 35 would acknowledge the work done by technologists who are charged with maintaining critical, sterile conditions to avoid infections by commemorating National Surgical Technologists Week in California in September of 2011. I respectfully urge your aye vote.
Seeing no further questions or debate, we can take a voice vote on this item. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed say nay. The ayes have it. The measure is adopted. File item 175, pass and retain. Senate third reading file item 176, pass and retain. Okay, we're going to the consent calendar. We are at the second day consent calendar. Does any member wish to remove an item from the second day consent calendar? Seeing and hearing none, the clerk will read.
Assembly Bill 614 by Assemblymember Bonilla, an act relating to school attendance.
Okay, clerk will open the roll on the consent calendar. All members vote who desire to vote. All members vote who desire to vote. Clerk will close the roll, tally the votes. Ayes 73, no 0 on the consent calendar. The consent calendar is adopted.
Assembly Bill 571.
Ayes 73, no 0. Okay. Okay, we are going to request to adjourn in memory. Mr. Nielsen, you are recognized.
Speaker and ladies and gentlemen of the Assembly, we have lost another soldier in serving his country. A good friend of mine, former Modoc Sheriff Bruce Mix, and his wife Maria have lost their son and stepson. Army Special Sergeant Preston Dennis was killed in Kandahar province of wounds involved in combat, his column being attacked. Another one who has given his life in service to his country. He graduated from a very small school, Modoc High School in Alturas, California, went to College of Siskiyous and was elected student body president. Was on the snowboarding team and then joined the military, served in his unit. He was sent home early and had the opportunity to not go back. And he said he could not abandon his battalion members, and he went back for what ended up his last tour. Truly another wonderful soldier whose life we celebrate. I ask that we would adjourn in Preston Dennis's memory.
Mr. Valadeo.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. On Wednesday, April 6, 2011, the Lemoore Naval Air Station and the city of Lemoore suffered a great loss of two of our nation's finest. Lieutenant Matthew Ira Lowe, 33, and Lieutenant Nathan Hollingsworth Williams, 28, were killed when their jet crashed into a field near the air station. Lowe became a pilot in 2006 and reported to Lemoore Base in 2009. Williams joined the squadron in Lemoore last year after becoming a naval flight officer, also known as a weapons systems officer, 2007. The two men were assigned to a Strike Fighter Squadron 122, also known as the Flying Eagles, a fleet replacement training squadron that does not participate in deployments. The squadron trains pilots to fly Hornets and Super Hornets. I cannot overstate the importance of the Lemoore Naval Air Station in my district and our state, and I want to to be sure to thank the folks stationed there and acknowledge for their recent loss. The pain for this loss will be felt throughout the Lemoore and the surrounding communities for some time to come. My thoughts and prayers go out to the family and friends of the shipmates of the two naval officers. The loss of these two young officers will serve as a reminder to the true cost of freedom and the significance of people like Lieutenant Lowe and Lieutenant Hollingsworth that protect it. I ask my colleagues to take a moment to reflect upon the service and sacrifice of those in uniform during this difficult time for their friends, family, and surrounding community. Thank you.
Dr. Halderman.
Lieutenant Matthew Ira Lowe was 33 years old on the day of his death. During his career, he earned the Navy Marine Corps Achievement Medal and the National Defense Service Medal. Lieutenant Nathan Hollingsworth Williams was 28 years old on the day of his death. During his career, he earned the Air Medal, the Afghanistan Campaign Medal, the Global War on Terrorism Service Medal, the Sea Service Deployment Ribbon, and the Pistol Marksmanship Medal. The craft that they were piloting was a Boeing FA-18F Super Hornet. It's a supersonic all-weather multi-purpose fighter jet, and it's designed for both dogfight and to attack ground targets. Its primary missions are fighter escort, fleet air defense, suppression of enemy air defenses, air interdiction, close air support, and aerial reconnaissance. And because of this mission, this is a critical, valuable aircraft carrier asset. But technology is only as valuable as the humans who direct it, and for this we acknowledge the sacrifice made and the commitment of these two officers in service of their country.
Thank you, members. Please bring the names to the desk to be printed in the journal. The session schedule is as follows. Tuesday, May 10th, check-in session. Wednesday, May 11th, check-in session. Thursday, May 12th, floor session at 9 a.m. All other items remaining will be passed and retained. All motions shall be continued. We will return to announcements. Mr. Mendoza.
Members, I want to make a quick announcement. Don't forget this afternoon we have the reception at 5:30 right outside. But most importantly, I just want to congratulate one of our colleagues. She's leaving tomorrow morning. She's going to her native Guatemala to be speaking before their Congress, honoring her for being the first Assemblywoman from Guatemalan descent. Please help me welcome and help me congratulate our fellow Assemblywoman, Norma Torres. Woo!
Mr. Calderon.
Yes, Madam Speaker, members, the Banking Committee will meet immediately after session in room 644 to hear one bill, AB 1080.
Okay, I'm ready to entertain a motion to adjourn. Mr. Calderon moves. Ms. Conway, Mr. Calderon.
It's room 444, not 644.
Room 444, banking. I'm ready to entertain a motion to adjourn. Mr. Calderon moves. Ms. Conway seconds that this House stands adjourned until Thursday, May 12th at 9 a.m. Quorum call is lifted.